The adjustment mechanism, which is the supplementary socialization, which have different conflicts about the prosperity and institutional structural and its role and its regulatory efficiency, which have dynamic institutionalization, prosperity and institutional structural and its growing efficiency for their neutralization and its core values and systematic way of the ideologically and thinking about different role in its regulatory efficiency, dynamic institutionalization, prosperity and institutional structural and its growth and different referendums for their ecologically prosperity and the institutionalization in different determining concept about the lateral efficiency and its evolutionary for their socialization. We have just tried to influence the deterministic part of the approach in different concept about the occupancy of the socialization, which have different cooperative advantage and the institutional structural growing efficiency, dynamic institutional association, different growth and referendums which have ecologically prosperity. It is the deterministic and the institutional structural growing and its efficiency for the different evolutionary for their socialization and its regulatory advantage, different growth and its orientation for their regulatory and its efficiency for their dynamic institutional structure, the prosperity for their desirable concept about the ideologically and thinking about different political strategy deficiency and its growing and its influential structural and its referral for their structural and defining for their institutionalization. We have just tried to influence the structural and resources about different growth and its orientation of the society which have inclusive advantage, different role and its regulatory efficiency, dynamic structural and its growth and its orientation of the socialization which have influential transformation. It is the dynamic institutional structural and its growth and different referendums of their socialization which have influential part of the approach in different referendums and its ecologically prosperity for their institutional structural and its core values and systematic way of the ideologically different role in its regulatory efficiency and its institutionalization for the prosperity. But long story short, it will not be transformation for the different distinguish and transforming the structural and its growing and its influential structural, but the prosperity of the distinguished transformations different determining concept, but it is the influential structural and the growth which have referendums and its ecologically prosperity which is the institutionalization, the prosperity and its gracefully responsible, the transformation of different concept about lateral efficiency, the growth and its challenges and its different referrals and its inclusivity for their challenges and its referrals for their dynamic institutional structure. We have different prosperity of the structure and it's concluded about the structural and resource efficiency which is inclusivity and different kidding argument about your colleagues about your different association of working and its sensitive approach which is the influential as structural and different circumstances determining the procedures and its influential structure. It is the influential part of the approach and different distinguish of the transformation which is the institutionalization and its prosperity for their institutional structural growth efficiency and different distinguish for their referrals and its ecologically prosperity. We have just tried to influence the deterministic part of the approach and different concept about their lateral efficiency, the growth and different balance of the referendums and its ecologically prosperity for their institutionalization and the differentiation for their ecologically and different part of the approach referendums and ensure about the prosperity and institutionalization. We have just tried to influence the structural and its growth and its influential structural for their prosperity, different distinguishes of the transformation and the surrounding noise is very disturbing to making video, and uploading video is also difficulties when the internet connection is not be properly working. So you will understand what I am saying. Okay. but but the different circumstances and preventing war, I will just try to recorded this video. Okay. So different conservations of work and its influential structural which have the prosperity and institutionalization in the different distinguished for their transformations and the determining for different procedures and its influential structure. If I consider about the process of work, different skills, prosperity and institutionalization which have different circumstances, working efficiency and its influential structural growth and different transformation of the society, which have inclusivity of the challenges, referendums and its ecologically prosperity and institutional structural growth efficiency for their distributes for their transformation. It is the institutionalization for their prosperity and institutional structural growth and different referendums for their ecologically prosperity and different influential part of the approach, the efficiency of the transformation and determining for the casual transformation and institutionalization for their prosperity working structure of the society, which have core values and systematic way of the ideologically. It is the distinguished transformation and ideologically which have the influential part of the approach and different core values and a systematic way of the growth orientation of the society which have inclusive transformation, referendums and its ecologically prosperity and institutionalization in different distinguished and transformation for their ideologically which have the core values and systematic way of the growth orientation of the society, but it is the deterministic part of the approach and different referendums and its ecologically prosperity and distinguish for their transformation which have the influential structural and its sensitive approach about the core values and systematic way of the growth orientation of the society which have inclusive advantage, the referendums and its insecurity about the structural and its influential structure, but it is the determining process, but it is the conceptual working and its sensitive approach about the influential structural and its core values and systematic way of the growth orientation. It is the distinguished for different lateral and its ensure about their efficiency, but the challenges of working capacity of these distinguished transformation which have the influential structural and its growth orientation of the society which have inclusive advantage and different referendums and its prosperity for the work and structural and distinguished for their transformation. We have just tried to influence the structural and its core values and systematic way of their transformation which is the prosperity for different distinguished for their institutionalization and its gracefully responsible and different part of the approach and referendums and its ecologically prosperity which is the institutionalization and its referendums and its ecologically prosperity for their institutional structural core values and systematic way of the growth orientation of the society which have inclusive advantage and its referendums and its security about different ideologically and its phenomena of the structure. It is the different distinguish of the transformation which is the institutionalization and its prosperity for the work, different part of the approach and it's gracefully responsible when you are trying to influence the structural and resources about their growing efficiency which have influential part of the approach and different referendums and its security about their prosperity and institutionalization. We have just tried to influence the structural in its growth and its orientation of the society which have inclusive advantage which is the supplementary for their socialization and its influential structural and its growth and its orientation of the socialization which have influential structural and resources efficiency which have distinguished for their transformation and its core values and systematic way of the growth orientation which is the basically supplementary for the commitment about the work structural of the society and its inclusive advantage, different ideologically and its phenomena.